Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's Abs of October Red, and I guess it's time for news and reviews. Kind of chilled out one today, having a look at the boxing landscape, mainly off social media. There's been so much going on. False information, people feeding stuff out to media outlets to potentially embarrass others, whatever it is. There's never a dull day in boxing, albeit it's slowed down a little bit. You know, we've still got things going on. Heavyweight boxing. Are the belts going to be fragmented? We can talk about Usyk's fight in a bit because, WBC being WBC again. I did want to arrange another conversation with Maurizio Sulaiman, but that hasn't come into fruition. Obviously, we had the conversation about Geopolitical and the IBF, and that seems to be in some sort of remedial potential situation where there potentially could be talks ongoing. Albeit, if we're going to keep it frank, if we're going to keep it for what it is, and I know that things are subject to change, Zuffa quite openly said they wanted their own UBO. We've been over this a million times. So really, what is the fuss about keeping the IBF? The fuss is the fighter. The fuss is the fighter not really understanding his contract properly or it not being explained. We can go into this. You saw the conversation that I had with Troy Williamson the other day, where sometimes it seems as if things don't necessarily get filtered down to the fighter when the management allegedly, potentially, is in bed with the promoter. It happens, and this is what happens when you have like an agency, somebody acting on your behalf. You've got to have your eyes, your wits about you, and you've also got to have that independent legal eye casted over all of your paperwork, somebody that you're paying to be in the best interests of you. A whole episode, we've already kind of gone through that. So we've got the heavyweight division then. Alexander Usyk, the super champion, I would say, multi-weight world champion, from cruiser to heavy, undefeated. Nobody can't beat him. But the WBO has gone to Fabio. Is it WBO or WBA? I always get those two mixed up. Please correct me in the comments. So one of the belts has gone. And now, obviously, Fabio is fighting Daniel Dubois for it, coming up in May, called Don't Blink. And literally, I understand why they called it that, because it suits. Because you never can blink when it comes to Fabio Wardley. A good fight. Looking forward to that card very much. I'd like to see who else they're going to put on it. Selfishly, and this is me being selfish, I'd like to see more heavyweights on the card. I do get really happy when heavyweights fight. Moses Atauma, as we know, is fighting on March the 28th. Are they going to put him on that card, or has it got to the point now where they believe that Moses is a headliner? He's headlining the Magnificent Seven. Will he then go on the undercard of Don't Blink? I think he could do that from March to May. You know, he was fairly active when he first started. I know he's coming off an injury now, but he's still young, and I believe with that youth comes resilience and the ability to bounce back quicker than maybe older fighters, more weathered fighters, more experienced fighters, because he's still kind of green, isn't he? In a good way. Are we potentially then moving back into an era where the belts could be fragmented and they become up for grabs? I saw it was on social media, I think it's Instagram, can't remember who put it up, it might have been DAZN, but it's obviously footage from either Anthony Joshua or Alexander Usyk, where he's teaching him obviously the art of kettlebells, something that are very dear to my heart: the steel, the mace, the kettlebells, the clubs. I mess with all of those things. They're very good for S&C. They're very good for core and strength work as well. So we saw that them two were in the gym together. You know, it's like from foes in the ring to friends. So it's good to see. We'll see what happens with Anthony Joshua. I heard that there's been mutterings that potentially will be fighting at some point. Nothing definitive locked in. I think there was rumours apparently that Anthony Joshua was definitely going to be fighting Tyson Fury. I've heard another rumour that he's fighting Dillian White. Until each of their promoters, their respective promoters, come out and obviously nail it to the cross, one for a better word. I know we're coming up to Easter now, so I think that pun could be accepted. Please don't take offence if it isn't. I think when we hear from the horse's mouth, we can say, yep, that's definitely happening. You've got to think all of these fights, and especially Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, that is always a fight that's going to be spoken about. It's been a fight that's been spoken about for what it seems like centuries in the boxing world. But every time it's talked about, it's almost like it's jinxed and nothing happens with it. So we've got to wait and see. It's a fight that we'd love to see, but is it ever going to happen? I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. But like I said, just be mindful of where you get the information from and it's not confirmed. I always lurk in the background. I see the rumour and then I'm like, okay. And then I either try and speak to the promoters that are involved, which would either be Frank Warren, Frank Smith, Eddie Hearn, you know, get it from them and then we know that it's solid. I don't think money is a object, to get that fight on. I think that people will throw all sorts of money at it because it's a fight that they want. I think it's down to the fighters. And the only time we ever see any resistance really is from Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury just doesn't seem interested to fight Anthony Joshua for whatever reason. Obviously, he's given his kind words based on the bereavement that Anthony Joshua has suffered with losing his two friends. You know, there's that respect that's there, which anybody would, to be fair. So, but them two getting in the ring, I don't know. I can't see it happening. So, obviously, we've covered the sanctioning bodies. We've gone over that. We're seeing like the rise of, you know, Zuffa boxing. I know a lot of people, and this is one thing that I've never really got caught up in. Zuffa boxing is just starting out. Okay, yes, they've got the financial backing, and they may have a little bit of ears of those in boxing to help them with certain aspects of the business. No problem. They've signed some fighters, and just because you and I may not know the fighters in depth doesn't mean that they're not good fighters, because as well as you and I know, there's a lot of talent out there that we may never hear about because they don't get the backing and the promotion that they necessarily deserve. In this day and age, it's almost like a fashion show. It's just pure entertainment with, you know, these 7-second reels that can bring you to stardom rather than that grit and talent of the fighters. I haven't watched the Zuffa shows. I've seen the highlights. However, some of the boxing community that I do follow on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, have said that they've had some real competitive fights on there. And as a boxing fan, those are the types of fights that I like. And those are the types of fights where you look at somebody and say, oh, I never knew who that person was, but I'll keep an eye on them now. So I'm not one of these that's going to jump on the bandwagon and say that the fighters are not up to par or whatever. It's just that I don't actually know them. I haven't watched the fights to be able to give my honest critique on the fights. They are going to continue to sign fighters. Like I've said, like we've discussed when it comes to the belts and the strategies, it's the people that they're going to try and attach to the belt that will make the belt more attractive because of the knock-on effect of certain fighters wanting to fight them, and the only way they can fight them is if it's on their platform. The usual kind of old school stuff that we've seen in boxing over time. So when we look at the lower weights, we've got 140 to 147. Ryan Garcia calling out Teofimo Lopez. We've had Clarissa Shields call out Rolly Romero, and credit to Rolly Romero. He seems like a really nice person. I'd love to have him on the channel. he's like this mischievous kid in school. That's how I see him. But when you actually pin him down and just have a like one-to-one conversation with him, you know that he's a really cool guy. And one of the things that stuck out with him, he said, he doesn't hit women. And to hear a man outwardly speak like that is, on the whole, always going to get my vote, unless they're an absolute idiot in other areas. So we'll see. Oh, another thing as well, and I haven't checked it out, so I don't know what it is. Do Zuffa do testing as per the organisations? With their sanctioning, is the Zuffa belt, and I don't believe it is yet a recognised belt, because obviously it's got to go through the Muhammad Ali Act, etc. And obviously they were trying to amend that. So that's up in the air. So little tiny bits that involves Zuffa, that's what I'd be interested to find out. Just the little intricacies of the business. But I'm going to make the assumption that they're going to be doing more aggressive signing to push forward. Obviously, we know that behind that is His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh, and I'm sure he's got bigger problems on his plate at the moment with what's going on in the UAE, Iran, etc. So is boxing going to be at the forefront of the UAE when they've got a lot of other stuff that's going on as well? Because believe it or not, everything that's going on in the world will have an effect on the sport. If I digress slightly over to Formula One, there's 2 races have been cancelled over that side, and they're not even replacing them. They're just treating it as a gap, which I think it totals about 5 weeks before they push on and carry on with the other races. I know we've got Japan next, and I think there's 2 weeks. There's going to be a break after that. So you can't just sit there blindly and not say that what's going on in the world isn't going to have an effect on the boxing. What does that mean for the Riyadh season fights in the future? Are we going to have the ring fights? Are they going to be now predominantly in the West, in the UK, in the US? Because obviously they're not going to be hosting them at home at the moment, because I'd say, and I think anyone with a brain cell would say, that it's a risk. So we will see. I have tried to, just to obviously keep you in the loop, I've got some bits and bobs coming up, which you'll see the content coming out soon. There is fight week this week, obviously, with Tyler Denny fighting on the Matchroom card. How can I even forget that? With Lidard, who I would say is an absolute... Lidard is very, very, very focused individual. I've spoke to him on camera once, and he has got something about him. We all know what they're doing with Tyler Denny. However, Tyler Denny is still a risk, because Tyler Denny knows how to upset the apple cart when it comes to prospects. So please do not just think, okay, we've seen Tyler Denny and with Hamza Shiraz. Obviously, it looks like he's not with Boxer anymore. He's fighting as a B-side fighter on a Matchroom card. So, but Tyler Denny is as rough and as ready and as resilient as they come. So good luck to both fighters, but I will stand by the West Mids guy for this one, and wish Tyler a little bit extra good luck for Saturday. So we know that's what's coming up this weekend. I won't be at the fight, but I will be doing a watch along. And I actually won't be at the media day for that, but I've got some other bits and bobs that I'm doing to do with boxing that should be put out around the same time, or if not next week. Next week, as you know, Magnificent 7 with Queensbury. Probably, I'm not sure if I'm going to the fight or not, and that one I'm undecided, but I definitely will be going to the press conference. So I'll get as much content for you as I can from that. And then I think we're going into, is that MF Pro with Queensbury for Chisora versus Wilder. So we've got that coming up as well. Then we've got, obviously, MVP's first show in the UK as well. There's a lot going on coming up towards, obviously, May, where you've got Don't Blink. I'm waiting to hear I saw Eddie Hearn interview, so credit to Stomping Ground for that, where the interview seemed to pick up and obviously focus on what we needed to hear, or what the boxing audience wanted to listen to later on in the conversation. And one of the key aspects, it was Ben Whittaker, and I'm glad that was spoke about, because it's like, yeah, what is happening with him? There was all this hype, all this signing, you know, sort of ridiculing what Ben Shalom had done for him. Well, I can't say ridiculing, but saying we're going to do a better job, yeah? And then it was like, okay, you've had the big promo, one fight, then silence, what's going on? So I know they were obviously waiting for this American debut. We're hearing about dates now, whatever. He needs to be active. He's a silver medalist. You know, he's that guy. He's obviously worth a lot of money, because I'm sure they would have climbed mountains to get what he wanted for him to be satisfied to sign that contract. But we'll see how it plays out. So glad to hear that he's active. A little bit disappointed that they didn't pick up on the Troy Williamson stuff, because obviously Eddie had mentioned something before. I put it out in the clip that I did with Troy Williamson, to say that, look, something's going on here. I did reach out to Ben Shalom, I think, a few times, and it's probably either last year or early this year. I've stopped doing it. If I see him, I'll try and get an interview. If I don't, it's just one of them, because there's only so many times you can try and arrange something, and it's just like, it just gets to the point where you know, or it gets to that point where you think, you know what, they probably don't want to speak to me. So I have tried, but that was a while ago, not since I've spoken to Troy. But maybe we'll see what happens with Ben Shalom in the future. Obviously, I'm going to try and get Frank Smith to do a live again. And just to let you know as well, for live broadcasts, I'm changing over from StreamYard. I don't know if you saw the Troy Williamson conversation I had, but it was constantly cutting in and out with the reception. StreamYard is extremely expensive, and to me it's not value for money. So what I've done is I've signed up with something else, and it's going to be a bit bland, it's going to be a bit basic. I don't even know how to get the intro working yet. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I just want stable content for you guys, because the cutting in and out absolutely does my head in. So yeah, we're going to try something different and see how it goes with that. And I think, to be fair, ladies and gentlemen, let me just check on X before I say the final adios. Let me just see what's happening, if anything. To be fair. Wow, okay. Let's have a look. All right, Fury's at Home on Netflix. Don't know what that is. Oh, I think something might be bubbling between Alexander Usyk and Moses Atauma, which is all outside noise and people actually just stirring up the pot, I think, because they need something to do. Ah, right. Robert Garcia, once again. He speaks on... Whose platform is this? The Spit Bucket. Let's have a look. Everyone is against Zuffa, but there's no promoter that will tell you the truth about the Muhammad Ali Act either. Robert Garcia breaks down why he's willing to work with any promoter that takes care of his fighters. Now, I've gone through the Muhammad Ali Act, and I've also gone through the amendment. We've discussed this. It's there. You can go back and listen to it. The one thing that I did like, which it was the healthcare package. Apparently, the WBC has a healthcare insurance with it as well, but he wasn't prepared to comment, and I don't know if the other organisations have healthcare. Something that I do like as well is the British Boxing Board of Control. Now that I've just remembered, let me try and find it, which I think is absolutely brilliant by them, and so it should, because obviously they get paid as well. Let's have a look. Right, the British Boxing Board of Control and this is on, I think it's on their website actually, has also launched a new partnership with Sporting Chance aimed at supporting fighters around mental health and welfare. And I think that's great news. What I'd also like for the fighters as well is in negotiations, obviously when they're negotiating their fee, that they're able to obtain that private medical health care insurance for themselves, which enables them to get fast treatment, and it's included, so they are looked after. So when you see people getting stretchered out or whatever, sometimes you have to wait on the courtesy of maybe the promoter to say, what, I'll pay for this, I'll pay for that. I'd like to see it incorporated into fighters' purses, to be fair, because I do believe in welfare of the fighters, and I do believe in healthcare, and I understand that the way this country is now, it's going to have to be some kind of private medical health insurance. Let's have a look. Just trying to see if there's anything else on X. I still haven't watched the Anthony Kakachi Jazza Dickens fight. I heard there's a little bit of controversy around the scoring, unless that's just my ear rolls. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anything, because I do this all the time. I'm like, oh, I wish I'd spoke about that. I can't see anything that is sticking out. Oh yeah, one of the things I did forget, which I find absolutely berserk, is that obviously Alexander Usyk versus Rico Verhoeven has been officially sanctioned by the WBC as a voluntary defence. I'm speechless. I think the WBC is very vocal, but then they'll backtrack or they'll do something so it fits them. It's, I think the IBF have received a lot of criticism. However, they kind of do what they say they're going to do. They kind of like adhere to their own rules and regulations, and I can't believe that's been sanctioned. But if I'm right, I'm sure they actually put somebody into, what was his name? That Anthony Joshua splattered. See, my brain is all over the place. I've got that brain fog. I'm looking at his face, and he's fighting on the MVP card. You guys in the chat, tell me his name again. The one that Anthony Joshua folded and the one that knocked down Tyson Fury. Where's my brain cells gone? I can actually see his face. But anyway, wasn't he ranked in the top 20 of having the first heavyweight fight? Was that by the WBC? If I'm wrong, Francis Ngannou, I knew I'd get there in the end. I'm just like, what is wrong with my brain today? Yeah, so didn't they put him into the rankings as well? But correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes I do get it wrong, because look, let's face it, I can't even remember certain fighters' names at times. But yeah, we'll see. We will see. So what I will say then, this week or this past couple of weeks has been a massive learning curve for fighters, and you've got to look after yourselves. You've got to make sure you've got people around you that you trust, and they won't necessarily be the ones that are getting paid. Always have a look through your contract, and then get someone separate to look through your contract. Your career is extremely short. You've got to think the business around you, they will just get new fighters and carry on with their business. I think you have to have a selfish approach, and I think the first person that really made me think about this was Joshua Buatsi. He was one of them that was, and it came across as like really selfish, and some people found him like even arrogant in his opinion, but everything that he said is actually true. You have to be really, really selfish in this game, because you've got one career. So whether that is, might boil down to you changing team, it might boil down to you saying to your manager, look, I get it, you're my manager, and I know that you won't mind or you shouldn't mind, but I'm going to get my lawyer that's not connected to you or the business in any way, shape or form to have a look through my contract. And people only tend to get defensive when they feel like either you're trying to undermine them, so the ego kicked in, or they've got something to hide. There shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, of course, go and have a look at it. Definitely, get somebody to have a look at it. I advise you to get somebody else to look at it and then work through it that way so you can make sure it benefits you. Now, I'm not saying that as a fighter you take the mick, yeah, and you ask for things that are just, you know, like out of this world. But you have to make sure that you're protected. And the way that you make sure that you're protected in any contracts is covering the what ifs, the potentials, you know, the maybes. You have to make sure that you are confident and it's in writing that if this should happen, or maybe this happens, what position are you in? And I think that's it really. I thought that that's what fighters would be doing anyway. I thought the common sense approach that is out there in the employment world would potentially be in the boxing world, but it's become apparent that it's not always like that. And you might end up, you either pay for that lawyer to make sure you're secure in the beginning, or you'll end up spending thousands trying to rectify errors that, if you're going to look at it, you should have actually had these things covered in the first place. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave today's conversation with myself and obviously the listeners and call it accountability. And we're all the bad guy in somebody's story. So sometimes we just have to like, yeah, I am actually the bad guy in this story, and deal with it and move on. So yes, guys, content tomorrow, watch along on the weekend, potentially a couple of 3-4 watch alongs coming up, because I'm actually enjoying the watch alongs. I think that is where a massive strength of mine is. It's being online, it's hosting, it's what I really love doing because of the engagement that I get from you guys. And yeah, I can't go on without saying thank you very much to each and every one of you that do engage, that do get involved in the comments, that do turn up to the lives or watch the lives in arrears. Honestly, I can't do this without you guys, the subscribers, the commenters. If you haven't subscribed, I will ask nicely if you can subscribe. Trying to get up to 20k, then after that 50k, then after that 100k, and all of these things I do believe are possible. I'm self-made. I started off with 1 subscriber and now I'm up to 16,000. Yes, it's taken years, but I'm all in this like forever. I'm not going anywhere. So I'm kind of like it's the hare and the tortoise with me. Let the hare sprint off. I'm the tortoise. I'm taking my time. I'm looking at the surroundings. I'm enjoying absolutely everything, because we all know who has the longest lifespan, and it's definitely not the hare. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen and friends of the channel, I'm going to say have a beautiful week, an amazing weekend, and stay ready.